favorable conditions urge for the supporting industry sector. And later on, development of Vietnam's logistics sector. Hello there, you're tuning into another edition of Bizline here on VTV International. I'm your host Hoàng Hằng, and as usual, we will begin with some economic highlights over the past week. Vietnam should learn from the experience, will and effort of the Japanese and Koreans in promoting supporting industry, stated Prime Minister Nguyễn Xuân Phúc at the conference on measures to boost the development of Vietnam's supporting industry, which took place on December the 19th in Hanoi. Speaking at the event, the Prime Minister stressed that Vietnam needs to attract foreign investment by understanding their requirements and expectations in order to become the machinery hub of Asia. The development of supporting industry will set the foundation for all economic sectors of the nation and create a way to participate in the global production chain. This requires ministries, sectors and localities to have a vision, an action plan, and the spirit of the Japanese and Koreans. An article published by US magazine Forbes considered Vietnam the hottest investment destination in Asia. According to the article, Vietnam attracted $17 billion in FDI commitments last year, arguably the largest for an emerging market. In the first quarter of 2018, it became the fourth largest initial public offering market in the region, surpassing South Korea, Singapore, and Australia. It predicted that the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, or CPTPP, and EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, EVFTA, will be ratified, helping Vietnam further integrate into the global economy. Vietnam's exports are becoming more refined thanks to the diversification of exports in the past 8 years. This is according to World Bank's latest evaluation. The manufacturing and processing sectors have contributed about 85% of total exports, up from the rate of 65% in 2010, thanks to growth in the FDI sector. Correspondingly, the proportion of raw material exports fell sharply, with crude oil dropping from nearly 7% of total exports to about 1.3% in October 2018. However, according to the World Bank, Vietnam still has an undeveloped supply chain, is heavily dependent on imported raw materials, and lacks supporting industries. Vietnam's trifish or pangasius export value hit $2.05 billion in the last 11 months, a year-on-year increase of 27.4%, according to the General Department of Customs. In October and November, the consumption of trifish in the U.S. increased about 40% due to a reduction in anti-dumping duties, while trifish demand recovered in the EU and held steady in China. It is forecast that the total export value of trifish this year will reach another record high of about $2.2 billion. Vietnam's rice officially has its own logo on December the 18th in Long An province. This is also the first time Vietnam has a national rice brand after decades of being considered the largest exporter of rice without a brand name. According to experts, having a brand name will be a turning point to create momentum for Vietnam's rice production and trade. According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, there are specific regulations on the use of the national rice brand. Organizations and individuals that want to use the brand must meet national standards and regulations. International protection procedures have been carried out for Vietnam's national rice brand. Thanks to the growth in confidence in employment prospects and personal finances, Vietnam has risen to the second position in consumer confidence globally. With a 9-point increase over the second quarter of 2018, Vietnam's consumer confidence level has peaked in the past decade, according to Nielsen, a global information measurement company. Nielsen's report also showed that the Consumer Confidence Index of Vietnam and Malaysia were 129 points and 127 points respectively, surpassing Indonesia and the Philippines to be among the top 3 most confident countries globally. Also, according to the 2018 Nielsen Connected Commerce report, up to 98% of the internet users in Vietnam have made purchases online, up 1% point over 2017. Increasing effectiveness of the online retail ecosystem in providing convenience for its consumer base has strengthened the online shopping habit. Fashion, travel, books and music continue to account for the largest proportion of online transactions in consumer goods. Vietnam's target is for 30% of its population to shop online between 2016 and 2020. With yearly sales value of approximately $350 per person, revenue from online retail in Vietnam is forecast to hit $10 billion by 2020, accounting for 5% of the country's retail market. Those are some highlights in the economic scene. Up next, let's take a look at the development of Vietnam logistics sector in our crosstalk. In 2018, Vietnam's logistics sector has maintained its momentum seen in the previous years, with estimated growth of 12 to 14%. According to the World Bank's Logistic Performance Index, or LPI, released on July 2018, Vietnam ranked 39th out of 160 surveyed countries, rising by 25 levels compared to 2016 and reaching the 3rd position in the ASEAN. Vietnam's logistics service is among the leading emerging markets. These are the best results Vietnam has achieved since the World Bank started launching its LPI in 2007. In this week's Crosstalk, we will take a review of the development of Vietnam's logistics sector. First, let's start with the following clip.
According to statistics from the Vietnam Logistics Forum, the number of logistic businesses in Vietnam in 2013 was 1,200, while the figure has exceeded 4,000 in 2018. In addition, the last 5 years have also witnessed positive changes in Vietnam's logistics sector. The World Bank estimated that Vietnam's logistics market may reach a volume of 10 to 11 billion US dollars. As the Vietnam Logistics Forum has been held annually since 2013, businesses as well as foreign and domestic experts can directly voice their opinions to the government. Since late 2014, the policies of opening logistic market for foreign enterprises have promoted the waves of mergers and acquisitions among logistic companies. In early 2017, the Prime Minister issued the Decision No. 200, approving the action plan for improvement of competitiveness and development of Vietnam's logistics services by 2025. The plan contains specific objectives and measures to achieve those results, including establishing regional and international logistics centers for efficient economic connectivity.
Hiện nay chính phủ cũng đang triển khai cả cái chương trình một cửa quốc gia, cũng là trong cái nỗ lực giúp cho các cái hoạt động xuất nhập khẩu nói chung và hoạt động của các doanh nghiệp logistics sẽ được rút gọn, sẽ được cải thiện và nhanh chóng hơn nữa trong thời gian tới.
We have invited to our studio Ms. Jen Oh, Cluster Leader for Transport Program World Bank Vietnam. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, according to the World Bank Logistic Performance Index 2018, Vietnam ranked 39th out of 160 surveyed countries, as I mentioned before, rising 25 levels compared to 2016. So what do you think are the reasons behind such progress?
Vietnam made a big stride in LPI, not just in the overall ranking, but across all 6 measurements. Those include clearance processes, infrastructure, international shipment, logistics services, tracking, tracing, and timeliness. I think that both the government and the private sector deserve the recognition. First, from the government side, the Prime Minister sets out the comprehensive and multidisciplinary framework to tackle the issues of the logistics sector. Rightly point out the need to address the regulations, infrastructure, human resources and skills issues, and interagency coordination. Government also continued made a very important investment in transport and trade infrastructure, for example, expressways and deep water ports. Vietnam's private sector also is very dynamic, active, and entrepreneurial. Some of them are developing international shipping lines, taking advantage of the deep sea port infrastructure. Others are developing, creating market force for more sophisticated logistics services, including third-party logistics. Overall, competition is very high. And then the public and corporate level of confidence in the sector is also high.
So what are some of the challenges hindering Vietnam logistics sector from growing further, in your opinion?
The top 100 logistics firms in Vietnam, the total turnover in 2016 reached almost $9 billion US. This is the growth rate over 15% year on year. But according to the Vietnam Logistics Association, the market is still dominated by larger foreign international players, and domestic companies' share only accounts for 25% of this total market size. World Bank Vietnam team actually conducted the surveys of the logistics service providers in Vietnam this year. The firms surveyed shared their views on what are the key challenges in the sector. They named the quality and affordability of transport and logistics service infrastructure services. Also, still cumbersome documentation processes. Infrastructure is still one of the constraints. Road network in the country, for example, exceeds over 300,000 kilometers, and then that has increased significantly over the last 2 decades. However, Vietnam still lacks high quality backbone infrastructure, for example, expressway, and also the intermodal connection between roads and seaports. Other key logistical infrastructure, including inland container depots, so-called ICD, and also multimodal logistics park that can be built around major international gateways, such as maritime ports, or urban logistics distribution center, which can be strategically located in large cities, are still underdeveloped. Those facilities can improve the efficiency and reduce the cost significantly. Also, the market fragmentation is an issue. The sector consists with a large number of very small firms. Based on our survey, about 50%, half of the road freight transport companies generates revenue less than $500,000 a year and employ just 3 people. This limited scale means also the limitation to invest and grow further.
Normally, the costs of railway and waterway transport are only more than half that of road transport, but the opposite situation exists in Vietnam. One of the main reasons for this is the poor connectivity in logistic infrastructure system. According to a business that tried transporting steel by train from Thái Nguyên province to Cái Lân port in Quảng Ninh province, the cost of this railway route is 30% higher than the road route. Different rail gauges and lack of railway line leading to seaport increase the time and cost of loading and unloading.
Khi mà vận chuyển hàng từ cảng ra ga ở đầu Cái Lân hoặc là bốc xếp hàng hóa từ các cái ga cuối của đường sắt xuống ấy, thì vì không có thiết bị cho nên là cái giá cước bốc xếp cũng như là cái nhân công ấy, nó cũng sẽ tăng cái chi phí lên rất là cao.
Đường sắt này nó không vào trong cảng, nó ở phía sau cảng, nên là các cái dịch vụ bốc xếp thì bao giờ cũng phải qua một quá trình trung chuyển từ chỗ khu vực cầu cảng ra khu vực ga, nó cũng sẽ chi phí cái dịch vụ logistics tương đối cao.
Though they are the gateways for exporting millions of tons of goods per year, most seaports in Hải Phòng and Quảng Ninh currently do not connect with the railway system. Meanwhile, the seaports that are connected to railway lines are located near populous areas, so it is impossible to increase trains. Moreover, logistics services such as warehouses, loading facilities that assist the operation of seaports are still limited.
Khi đường sắt chúng ta không vào tới nơi, chúng ta phải kết nối đường bộ. Nhưng mà bên cạnh đấy thì chúng ta phải mở được cái vùng hậu phương, nghĩa là chúng ta xây dựng các kho bãi, các ICD và đồng thời là đầu tư thêm phương tiện bốc xếp vào để nó giảm cái chi phí xếp dỡ xuống.
In addition, the inland waterway system also faces bottlenecks. Currently, the first waterway route for container ships in northern Vietnam from Hải Phòng City to Phú Thọ Province hasn't been able to operate with the cheapest cost due to the Duong Bridge, which has seriously been damaged after more than 100 years in use. Barges with 100-ton capacity can only carry a maximum of 24 containers when they pass the bridge due to low vertical clearance.
Chi phí vận tải thủy nội địa của tuyến này, của container hiện nay cũng chỉ bằng 1/2 so với chi phí vận tải đường bộ, là một cái lợi thế rất lớn. Nhưng vì tĩnh không cầu Đuống chúng ta chưa khai thác được cái lợi thế này.
Experts said it is a challenging task to allocate state budget for connecting means of transportation in the logistics sector. This has contributed to the high logistic fees in Vietnam and wasted various resources in the economy.
Since 2014, Vietnam has opened its logistics sector to FDI enterprises. So what are the role of FDI firms in developing this sector?
Overall, we believe it's a positive trend. But we still see this two-tier market structure whereby very large and efficient and capital-intensive FDI sector and small and medium-sized domestic sector coexisting in the market. FDI participation in the logistics sector provides services primarily to the FDI sector. I believe that the increasing FDI participation in the sector could help develop intermediary and brokerage services, which is still underdeveloped in the country. The importance of this brokerage and intermediary services is they are kind of matchmaker, helping the cargo owners, shippers, with the service providers and carriers. According to our survey, 70% of the trucks will come back empty because they are not able to find the customers on their way back. And the brokerage, developed brokerage and intermediary service can improve this overall efficiency. Big name foreign firms know the importance of this brokerage and intermediary segment, and I think they can help developing this sector in Vietnam by creating demand for it and also participating in it.
What are the strengths and weaknesses of domestic enterprises in this sector, and what are the opportunities for them in the coming time?
Currently, the domestic enterprises provide domestic services, transportation services, and warehousing and cargo handling. Obvious strengths of the domestic industries, the domestic enterprises, is of course the knowledge of the local market, including the customer behaviors and preferences and other market conditions. But still, at the same time, we see the major weaknesses in that the linkage between the FDI and domestic enterprise is still weak, and the domestic enterprises still lack the scale, and also particularly still lagging behind in terms of the adoption of the new technologies. In this context, we believe that the future opportunities lie in the technology and the innovation. So think about Uber or Grab services in freight services and logistics. So these mobile platforms and applications can connect customers better with the available trucking capacities, warehousing capacities, help them better track and trace the cargo, and also enable other sophisticated services. So I think this is the technology adoption is really a key area and opportunity for domestic enterprises.
To meet surging demands for logistics services that are boosted by rapid trade growth, applying modern technology is inevitable for the logistics sector. Nowadays, owners of shipments with Internet of Things or IoT applications can keep track of their containers based on real-time tracking system. IoT applications also allow owners to control temperatures, humidity inside containers of food products, as the data is updated every 2 minutes through cloud computing.
It's our mindset that it is costly, but it's one of the most efficient or cheapest type of technology that we can implement.
In order to sell domestic products in international e-commerce platforms, this company has switched from the business-to-business model to the business-to-business-to-customer model. To be able to do this, applying modern technology is a must.
Chúng tôi coi công nghệ là một khoản đầu tư, là một trong những cái công cụ để mình nâng cao cái chất lượng dịch vụ của mình. Bạn gọi là chi phí phần mềm, nhưng tôi gọi đấy là những cái đầu tư vào cái phần công nghệ.
With the number of orders in 2018 estimated to rise by 3 times compared to the previous year, this delivery company has spent about 2% of its revenues to upgrade its software system. The upgrade includes accurate positioning function that allows shippers to identify destinations that are close to each other and plan suitable itineraries.
Làm sao để mà trong các đơn hàng ở trong nội thành, ở các thành phố lớn như Hồ Chí Minh, Hà Nội, Đà Nẵng đã được giao hàng ở trong vòng 2 tiếng và tất cả những người mua hàng ở trên toàn quốc có thể nhận hàng được trong vòng 24 tiếng.
When looking for local delivery agencies as partner, international e-commerce platforms always care about technological basis of candidates because good technology helps them connect management systems effectively.
Vietnamese partners have the knowledge. They know the market, they know the country, they know the regulations. International partners come with expertise in terms of technologies and best practices from overseas.
According to the Vietnam Logistics Business Association, average growth rate of Vietnam's e-commerce is 30%. Realizing the potential of this market, many Vietnamese companies are now investing in logistics for e-commerce.
Một số nước thì đã có cái nền tảng công nghệ và có cái phát triển nhất định. Cái nền tảng công nghệ chúng ta còn thấp quá. Thì cái này buộc chúng ta phải cập nhật những cái công nghệ tiên tiến trong cái phát triển logistics trong thương mại điện tử.
It is also said that many startups are now contributing to modernizing the Vietnam's logistics sector using advanced technology. Like you've mentioned earlier, technology is crucial for this sector. So, what do you think are the effectiveness of the role of startups in this sector so far?
A lot of innovation will be, of course, come from the private sector in Vietnam. However, the government can also play an important role, instrumental role in this development. So some other countries, the government actively implemented policies and schemes that will promote the startups, including providing financial support. Some of those examples include Startup SG implemented by the Singapore government, and they provided funding through like equity financing or some cash grants to startups that demonstrated their ability to bring new solutions and disrupt the market. Similar program exists also in India, Startup India Hub. They also provided capacity building program, providing entrepreneur course to the promising startups. So it's great that such development is happening in Vietnam, and the government can do a little bit to promote and create a more enabling environment for the private sector.
Talking about the government's role in developing the logistic market. In his speech during the Vietnam Logistics Forum 2018, Deputy Prime Minister Vương Đình Huệ mentioned 4 solutions to improve connectivity among economic regions. So what do you think about this set of solutions?
I couldn't agree more with what the Deputy Prime Minister has laid out. And in fact, this aligns very well with the 4-pillar approach that the World Bank has promoted, which includes the trade facilitation, including through non-tariff measures, development of high-quality transport and trade infrastructure, development of logistics service sector, and interagency coordination. Inevitably, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of future innovation and development will come from the private sector. However, the government can create the enabling environment by removing unnecessary regulations. Recently, government also established the National Steering Committee for National Single Window and Trade Facilitation, and we believe that this is a very good step towards in right direction. And we recommend that actually the logistics will be also an added focus under this committee, so we can approach this issue, trade facilitation, overall competitiveness agenda of the country, together with logistics in a comprehensive manner.
So what else can be done to boost the development of Vietnam logistics sector, both from the public and the private sector?
Government is uniquely positioned to carry out infrastructure and spatial planning. Land is a scarce resource, and efficient logistics requires sufficient land for handling containers and consolidating, distributing cargo. Strategic investment in multimodal transport connectivity would reduce transport and logistics cost and can level the playing field for various economic regions within Vietnam. Planning transport infrastructure should therefore very closely coordinate it with the spatial planning and land use planning so that strategic location that has the high transport value can also provide sufficient land for various logistic services. Overall, we support this direction that has been set out and the vision that has been suggested by the government. In terms of the future areas of growth in the logistics sector, I would like to also mention the emergence of e-commerce. Vietnam is growing rapidly, and its middle class is growing rapidly. People in urban areas demand more sophisticated services. A lot of entrepreneurs, both in rural and urban areas, are engaged in the e-commerce. This is a segment that is growing very, very rapidly. And this will require new logistics services. It will require last mile logistics in urban areas to the end customers. And then there are many small firms who otherwise couldn't access the big market can now use the e-commerce platform to access the millions of new customers. And this requires a rethinking in logistics. At the same time, is also an area for new development.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
The Vietnamese government set the target that by 2025, logistics will contribute 8 to 10% of the country's GDP, with growth rate of 15 to 20% and expenditures on logistics services accounting for 16 to 20% of GDP. In order to achieve those results, the state management must carry out drastic reforms, and logistics business must also take great efforts. In the coming time, Vietnam's logistics sector will also have to successfully implement solutions to promote connectivity among economic regions. Hopefully, Vietnam's logistics sector will experience more positive changes and make bigger contributions to the country's economy in the coming time. And that has also wrapped up this edition of BizLine. For more news and updates, please log on to vtv4.vn or YouTube channel at vtv4go. Goodbye for now, and thanks for stopping by.